My name is Michaela Kerrison, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Sergeant Kitson Harcher. We warmly welcome the Royal Military College Duntroon Staff Cadet Delegation in attendance this evening. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Gravesend Public School from Gravesend, New South Wales. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is God by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
If you are able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Alan Campbell. Alan was born in Bathurst in April 1889. He was the younger of two sons, born to John and Amy Campbell, his brother Colin having been born in February 1888. Alan's father, John, died in 1891, leaving Amy to care for the two boys under the age of 4 by herself. Both Alan and Colin attended Bathurst District School. After leaving school, Alan worked as a labourer in Bathurst. Alan enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 25th of August 1914, just after the war broke out. He was assigned to the 4th Australian Infantry Battalion as a private. After 2 months of training, Alan left Sydney in HMAT Euripides on the 20th of October. He arrived in Egypt in early December and began further training with the 4th Battalion at Mina Camp outside Cairo. In February 1915, Alan was admitted to hospital for 2 weeks with rheumatism. In March, the battalion moved to the Greek island of Lemnos in preparation for the landing on Gallipoli. The 4th Battalion landed in the evening of the 25th of April as part of the 2nd and 3rd waves. There, the battalion took part in the defence of the beachhead and the attempts to secure a stable Allied position on the peninsula. On the night of the 8th of May, a small group of volunteers from the 4th Battalion, including Alan, left their lines to check the strength of the Ottoman position and capture a Turkish trench. Although the group had believed the trench to be abandoned, it was occupied by Ottoman soldiers. While attempting a retreat, Alan was shot in the head. Lance Corporal Cliff left the rest of the group to assist Alan. The two men never returned to the Australian trenches. In the confusion of the failed raid, Private Campbell's fate was uncertain. On the 18th of June, he was officially reported as missing in action, and the news was sent to his anxious mother in August 1915. In November, after a court of inquiry held in July, Alan's mother was informed that he was believed to have died. However, in January 1916, Base Records wrote to Amy to tell her that Alan was now unofficially reported as a prisoner of war, as he had been named by Lance Corporal Cliff, who was imprisoned at Afyon Camp in Turkey. Over the next 3 years, Amy and Colin wrote to Base Records frequently, requesting further information about Alan and confirmation of reports in newspapers that he was indeed a prisoner of war. As the war progressed, their letters became increasingly frantic. News remained scarce and letters to Alan were never answered. In one letter to the authorities sent in April 1916, Amy ended by saying that she was awfully sorry to trouble you again, but I am naturally anxious about my son. Alan's fate was not confirmed until February 1919, when a second court of inquiry was held. The main point of confusion was then Corporal Cliff's letter regarding his own capture, in which he had mentioned that he had been captured alongside Alan Campbell. Cliff was brought in to testify. He explained that Alan Campbell had been severely wounded in the head by Turkish gunfire at around 10:30 p.m. on the 8th of May. Cliff had passed his rifle to another member of the party so that he could attempt to carry Campbell back to the Australian lines. But on their way back, the two men were captured by the Ottomans. Cliff recalled that Campbell was dying quickly when I was separated from him. There is not the slightest doubt that he died that night. Alan Campbell was 26 years old. Campbell's remains were never located, and his final resting place is unknown. He is commemorated on the Lone Pine Memorial alongside the names of 3,267 other Australians with no known grave who died on the Gallipoli Peninsula. His name is also listed on the Roll of Honour to my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Alan Campbell, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old,
as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.